on at the school.
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see your little faces again, because that's all I get to see these days are little faces. Um, I'll be somewhat quick with an update, give you a sense of what's been going on lately. First, on the COVID front, the good news is I think our positive cases have kind of leveled off, if not gone down somewhat overall as a school district. And in particular, the high school, I think we're averaging about 1 to 2 a week right now, which is pretty good considering winter 2 sports have started and back to or are finished almost, and the fall 2 season is starting as well. And then we'll have the spring coming up. So we hope that does continue in the positive direction. But I just ask everyone again to stay vigilant. I mean, we're this close to the finish line, we hope, with COVID and vaccines and pandemic stuff, and it would be a shame to let anything deter us from that end goal of getting that herd immunity and get everybody healthy. So please continue to be vigilant as you socially distance and wear masks, et cetera, et cetera. But again, the good news is our cases have kind of been reduced a bit. There's been some changes from the Westchester Board of Health as well as the State Board of Health regarding the type of quarantining we have to do that you may have seen. Before we were asked to quarantine full classes if someone in the class got tested positive. Now they allow us to use the 6-foot rule for 15 minutes over a 24-hour period of time. So in our positive cases that we've seen at the elementary, middle, and high school, we haven't had to quarantine significant amounts of students or staff members. It's really been helpful that we've had the change in quarantining, because it allows us to continue to roll along in a fairly normal state. There's been other restrictions lifted, and we were looking at the travel restrictions now for people who have been vaccinated. You probably read some of that. We're trying to still get some clarity. There's still some muddiness around it, but we think that it seems to suggest that people who have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, can waive the quarantine restrictions if they travel domestically in New York. New Jersey hasn't done that, but New York seems to have done that. But again, we're asking for some clarification from our county office. We've also reached out to, I'm going to call every Monday morning with superintendents in the county, as well as the county executive, George Latimer, who's been a big supporter of schools and trying to get us the accurate information. He's been terrific. And we've asked him, and he's written a letter to the state to give us some better guidance for end of the year activities like graduation, for example. We know what the New York State rules are, but we're asking for some help to let us know what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do, so we can begin to plan accordingly. At the very least, we know we'll have an in-person graduation. We know that there'll be some people who are allowed to participate and see it, and we know that a bunch of parents will be on the other side of the fence if that comes to it, because that's what we saw last year. So I'm sure it'll be better than it was, hopefully. Vaccines are starting to roll out for us. We've received a lot of assistance from the county regarding helping our teachers and staff members get vaccinated. So I know Rachel's pretty much in charge of that area, but with help from county resources, I don't know how many teachers we have who are currently vaccinated, but we just sent a slew last week to the county for their vaccines, and they've reached out again saying if you have staff members who still need it, let us know and we'll get them appointments. So that's all very, very positive. There's a real push, as you can see, to vaccinate staff members, because we think that's a game changer in terms of getting all our kids back in school. Now, as you know, we've been in person for the most part from the beginning. Many schools have not, but they're starting to roll out their phase-in plans to get their kids back in person, which is terrific. We're always ahead of the game, so we're with good news. We have our high school students ready to come back in full time. I mean, effectively Monday, but as you've seen perhaps with the communication from Ann, we're doing the PISA testing on Monday, so we're going to be going remote because of that, because we don't have enough space to do the PISA testing properly in person. And then Tuesday, there's some other remote things going on as well. So really, full-fledged day would be Wednesday, I think, for our high school students to be fully back in full-time, which we're very, very excited about. And there's been a lot of discussion about in-person extra help and things like that, that I think we'll be able to accomplish as well. So slowly but surely, we're on the road to recovery, I believe, and some normalcy back into the lives of our kids in school. On the just a quick update on the Board of Education front, some items that you may have seen, just to make sure you're aware of. At the next board meeting, they'll be approving a calendar change. As you may be aware, we did not use all our snow days this year. So according to the teacher contract, there's a give back day, and we have scheduled Easter Monday as the give back day. So Easter Monday will be a day off from school for everybody, which will extend that spring break just one additional day. So that's nice. We just completed our second budget workshop this past Saturday, where we are very confident that we'll come in with a balanced budget that will be at, or perhaps slightly below cap, but probably at cap, which was 1.7%. Presented some challenges for us because we had to reduce our budget to the tune of $1 million to get to the cap number. And we did that through a early retirement incentive, as you may have been aware of. That helped us. We're looking at potentially self-insuring for flood insurance because it's extremely expensive. And we thought by adding all the pumps, and based on our recent history of not having any water in the building, that we would get a reduction of rates. But unfortunately, the market globally and nationally has just been horrific. So our rates will actually go up, not down. So the board is seriously considering going to a self-insure. We're pretty confident that that will be the right move for us. And that saves about $400,000 a year in insurance premiums on the flood insurance. So we think that's a positive move for us. But again, the nice thing about the budget, as challenging as it was, we're not at the point where we've had to cut staff or program at this point. It's getting tighter and tighter. As you know, the revenue is going down around the state. But I think for right now, we're in fairly decent shape. And we're also looking at allocating some reserve funds to cover some of the one-time expenses they'll be facing as well. So those kind of combinations put us in a pretty good state for our budget for next year. We also have 2 board members who will be going off the board this year. John Atkinson, who's completing his second term on the board, will not be on again next year. And Tom Evans, who served us for 1 term, this is his 3rd year, has decided not to run for a 2nd term. So there'll be 2 open seats. And I know the MPC is doing a great job around that topic for us. And I'm sure we'll have a couple of real quality choices when all is said and done to continue just giving us a real solid and stable board moving forward. And finally, on the capital project side, I'd like to say we're in the home stretch compared to where we've been. Things are looking really, really nice. I was hoping that we'd have some better news, but due to some supply issues, the doors aren't in, so we can't do certain things here and there that we wanted to complete this week. So we're still about a week away or so, week to 10 days away from the guidance suite being completed, although that's not going to interfere with high school coming back full time. Aaron's just going to have to tap dance through a lot of different classrooms to do his job. And we're probably a couple of weeks away, maybe 3 weeks or so away from the atrium being turned over as well. But it's really going to be quite impressive, I think, when all is said and done. We're very, very pleased with the quality of the work. It's just that during the COVID time, the supply lines have not been as active as perhaps we would like them to be. So, but we're getting there, and it's all come together. We're looking forward to ending that, quite frankly. So with that, I don't have anything else, Margaret. I'll be happy to respond to any questions in the chat if you'd like, but we'll stay on for a little while.
Okay, thanks, Roy. There are no questions right now, but when they
Okay.
pop up, I'm sure they will. I will
Great.
pass them on to you.
Christine has her hand raised, so can we ask her to?
Christine?
I just wanted to clarify the new contact tracing. So if student A is in class 6 feet and 1 inch away from student B, and student B receives a positive COVID test, that 6 feet and 1 inch protects student A from quarantine?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And are the desks configured?
The desks right now are 6 feet apart. That's a good point, Christine, because one of the things that they eased up on restrictions for is that 6 feet rule. In fact, there's a lot of flexibility now. They're saying that while 6 feet is ideal, you can go to 3 to 6 feet now, which presents some issues, obviously, in the quarantining side, but 3 to 6 feet doesn't matter, in terms of quarantining. If we're able to get past 6 feet, yes, but I don't think we're possibly going to do that with our kids coming back in full time. So we're probably likely, there might be some classrooms that might be 5 feet if we had to squeeze a desk or two in there, but that doesn't interfere with the number of people we'd have to quarantine normally, if you will.
So the risk doesn't go down that much?
I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Roy.
Sure.
Anne, you're back. Is your son okay?
Sorry, everybody. My son just fell down the steps. We were able to get him up and now he's standing because he says he can't sit. So hopefully, I think it was the shock. And then he claimed something popped and now he feels like he can move better. It was I thought we were going to the hospital. So fingers crossed we're not. And I apologize if I repeat anything that Roy said, but I'm just going to go chronologically. We have quite a few things going on. So tomorrow's a half day. We have a superintendent's conference day, and hopefully you've received multiple communications from me that it's an X block schedule. Students are going to go to A, B, and C block, and then they're dismissed. So we didn't shorten the periods and have all the classes. We're just going through C block, and then students are dismissed. As Roy said, we are looking to bring everyone back on Monday. And there may be some slight tweaks for a couple of classes, but the teacher will communicate. I think it'll be maybe 2 or 3 classes based on the guidance suite. The current guidance office is getting converted to a classroom. That's hopefully going to happen over the weekend. So if all goes well, then we'll have everyone in. I do want to reiterate what Roy said. There are going to be some rooms where the desks are slightly closer together than 6 feet. We're still quarantining much fewer students. If we have a positive case, in the fall, we were having to quarantine like 75 students. Now we're looking at maybe 8 because of those updated guidelines. So that is definitely just something to be aware of. We have not talked about lockers being available. That's a good question. It probably won't be right away and maybe not. We are still talking about extra help and club meetings being in person. So stay tuned before Monday. It's looking like we're moving in the direction of extra help being in person and club meetings in person as well, where we'll actually have students sign in. So it's actually, it's quite amazing that next week, a lot of things are going to go back to, I think, as close to normal as we can get this year, which is wonderful. And I have to tell you, the teachers cannot wait to see as many students fully in person as possible. We are finding students who are fully remote, some are struggling quite a lot. And we're just really encouraging as many students as possible to come back fully in person. On Monday morning, I've emailed a set of 15-year-olds. We are administering the OECD test for schools, which you might be more familiar with its old name, which is the PISA exam. It's an exam that's given all over the world. We gave it to our students in 2012, 2016, and we were scheduled to give it last March. That didn't happen, so we're giving it this March. It is an international benchmark for us to look at not curriculum, but higher level thinking skills. How are those being developed in our students? And so if you received my email, take a look at it. Those students will come in. It's an exam that takes place on a Chromebook. We're going to have the rest of the high school remote that morning because we can't facilitate where this is going to take place with the high school being in person. So again, more information I'll send out. Tuesday, we have a speaker speaking over Zoom to our 9th graders and our freshman transition leaders. This is Kevin Hines, supported by the foundation. He is actually an individual who speaks all over the world, best-selling author, documentary filmmaker about mental health and sort of seeking help when you need it. He's an individual who attempted suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and actually survived it, and now has spent his life really trying to encourage mental wellness and, again, making sure that people feel comfortable seeking help when they need it. After he speaks, and by the way, one of our clubs in the school put in the grant for him to come. They felt it was so important last spring to bring him here. After he speaks, small groups of students will debrief, and in those debriefs, a counselor, school psychologist, et cetera, will be in each of those sessions. So there will be an adult helping to lead those discussions. If a parent wants to opt their child out of that assembly, just reach out to your guidance counselors, no problem. Continuing chronologically, I wanted to talk a bit about AP exams. I've gotten some questions about the process that we went through to determine the administration window, some of the reasons, and just some clarifying information. So the College Board has decided this year to give schools a choice as to when they will administer AP exams. And there are 3 windows, essentially, for administering exams. The first window is the first 2 weeks of May, which is when exams have typically occurred. Those exams in the first administration window are on paper in person. The second administration window is the 3rd and 4th week of May. Those exams, some are on paper in person and some are digital. And then the final administration is the first 2 weeks in June, and almost all of those are digital. So as an administrative team, in meeting with the AP teachers and discussing with the district level team and the high school team, we looked at all of the options and thought about sort of the pros and cons of each. I'll be honest with you, no one is appreciating the College Board putting this on schools to make this decision, but we're doing the best that we can. I think I would say that for the first 2 administrations, there's definitely pluses and minuses to both. So I'm going to go through some of our reasoning when we approached this. So one key thing that we were thinking about is, because we landed on the second administration, is that 2, in some cases, more than 2 weeks additional instructional time is actually quite significant for our students, for the teachers to be able to have 2 more weeks to teach the content. And just to put that into context, I'm actually a former AP Bio and AP Environmental teacher from Bronxville. I taught that for 6 years. And even at that time, which was 10 years ago, those of us teaching in New York State and states similar to this that start late relative to other states, almost 3 weeks, sometimes more, later than other states in the country, we were actually pushing for a later administration window because it is extremely difficult to cover the content in an AP course within the time frame that we're given. Now, you put on top of that the pandemic, which I think we can all agree, hybrid learning has made instruction and learning more difficult. That has, in some ways caused teachers to go even a little bit more slowly in the curriculum to make sure kids aren't left behind. So the additional instructional time is really important when thinking about when we would give the exams. Also, we have some logistical issues in administering paper and pencil exams in the building. That is because, we have to have kids 6 feet apart. Typically, we shut down a small area of the first floor for AP exams. I don't think we would be able to fit any of our AP exams in that small area this year. We're looking at needing space that is equivalent to the blue gym and the cafeteria for most exams. So I have had questions about, when we talk about logistics and the impact in terms of space, why doesn't the high school get prioritized for those exams? And I guess what I would say to that is it's actually the high school that would be most impacted if we tried to have these exams in person, because we'd be using space that we as a high school need. So we would probably, and we will actually, I'll warn you that for the paper and pencil exams in the second administration, we probably will need to have the high school go remote some of those days. We just, number one, have to use much more space, but also we really don't have substitute teachers in the building this year. And so we have to use our own teachers to proctor the exams. So those are some things that came into the decision-making process that caused us to land on that second administration window. I just want to clarify a few things about that administration window, because I think some of the information is maybe students don't fully understand it. So the digital exams we're having students take at home, I think over half, just slightly over half the exams during that period are digital. These are full-length AP exams. They are 3 hours. They're not the shortened exam like last year. The College Board is administering these through a different platform. Last year, we had not a lot, but we did have some students who had a problem submitting their exam. It was actually a lot fewer than we expected. Most of those problems, if not all, were on exams that required students to take a picture of their work and upload it. The College Board is not doing that this year. They are not having students upload any documents. So it's our expectation and theirs that a lot of those issues of submitting the exam will not happen this year, because I know some students are a little bit worried about that. And another key piece about the digital is as students are going, if for some reason they get kicked out of the exam, like your Wi-Fi, you have a blip, they just log back on, the system has saved what they've done, and they just pick up where they left off. So I think it's important to note the College Board has made some progress on their digital platform. I think that is it on the AP decision process. And I can take questions at the end. I just have a few more things. I just want to reiterate, I sent this to all seniors and their parents, that we do have a venue reserved for prom on May 21st. It's actually a venue we reserved 2 years ago for May 21st this year. And we're lucky because many of these venues are giving priority to events that were canceled last year. So currently, this venue is able to accommodate 150 individuals. We have the largest ballroom there that allows for 250. So we do feel like that's a good thing. And then we'll continue to monitor the situation in terms of requirements from the state. Just today, my principals group, my high school principals group, started discussing prom through email. It may be the case that everyone will have to get tested before they go. I don't know if that'll change. We will obviously facilitate that if that's necessary. So that's good. So we've got prom on May 21st for our seniors. Because of the 150 limit, right now we're prioritizing the seniors who didn't get a prom last year. So we wanted to provide them that. If things change, anything can change in relation to how we who's invited to the prom. Senior week is pushed to the first week of June due to the AP administration schedule. Same length of time, 4 days, same kind of activities. We're working on organizing those. Senior shadowing is now going to be 1 week. That's actually a good thing. It's more condensed. Most of that will be on Zoom. And also 2 quick other things. We are working on a high school musical that Pam Simpson is looking to do outside right outside the auditorium lobby, and we're focusing on having any seniors interested perform that. So look forward to that. I think it's going to be the first weekend of June, which is very exciting. And Rob Cross is working on a play with underclassmen around that same time, around that same location. So just get ready because the spring is going to be busy because we're taking anything we couldn't do and we're trying to make it happen for kids in good weather in the end of the year. And I know Joe Haven is going to talk to you about sports, which is also going to be going on in the spring, but this is great news for kids. We're so happy to be able to offer these things to our students. They deserve it. They need it. We need it. So that's where we're at with all of these various events. Happy to take questions or anything that needs to be clarified. I think Rachel took care of the question regarding the Department of Health.
Question.
I'm looking at the question in the chat about the online format. So I know people have questions about the multiple choice and the format of the digital exam. One thing that I want to just clarify for people is that, and Aaron and I have been on calls with the College Board about this, is that yes, the digital exam is a different format. I mean, honestly, the College Board has multiple versions of each of these exams, and they're all different. What the College Board has to do is take a look at the raw scores on that digital exam. So if it is in fact the case that students have a harder time on the multiple choice on the digital exam, when the College Board looks at those raw scores, they have to sort of norm it against the written exam so that there's no disadvantage for students taking it one way or the other. Once that happens, then scores are awarded. So if students, and this isn't just going to be our students if this is the case, this would be taken into account in the scoring process. Any aspect of it. I want to say that teachers have told us, although the multiple choice may be different because kids can't go back, they feel quite strongly that on the essays, students actually produce much more and better work when they're able to type it. So does that outweigh the multiple choice? I don't think we can know that, but I think that is going to be taken into account in the scoring of the AP.
Okay, so then AP scores wouldn't be available until well after the third administration because they would take all of those into account.
They should, yeah, exactly. And that third administration is all digital, including, the only thing that's never digital is the world language. The College Board said with translation software, it's almost impossible to make that secure online. But the third administration has all of the math and physics and chemistry and statistics going online too. So all that'll need to be scored. I believe the scores will still be available in early July. Some of our faculty last year, and again this year, will be scorers, which is very helpful to us because they get like an inside look into how that's done.
Okay, great. Those are all the questions for now. If anything else comes up, I will let you know. And also thank you so much to the administration and the faculty for pulling everything together for the spring. I know the fall was a bit of a drag where we couldn't do anything. So it's going to, I think everyone, parents, students are going to be thrilled that there are going to be so many events coming up. We'll end the year with a bang. It will be wonderful.
I forgot one thing, Margaret. Can I just mention this? As we go back in person next week, in terms of students going remote, we're going to be requiring that if a student goes remote, it's for at minimum a week. Right now, we have students remote for the morning, remote for the afternoon, et cetera. We can't manage all that in and out, back and forth. So there still is an option for a student to be remote, but it's not going to be for these short periods of time. So I just want parents to have that in mind. We're bringing kids in. We want kids in. We understand we need to provide the fully remote option, but it can't be as haphazard as it's been. Minimum a week. So
Actually, question about that with respect to spring break, because if people are coming back from spring break and then they need to do their required 4-day quarantine after the second test, should you plan to be fully remote that week?
That's a great question. I think in that case, we can make an exception because that's something we can plan for.
Mhm.
What we're trying to prevent is this in and out. And I'm sure you won't be surprised. Sometimes it happens when there's a test and teachers are like beside themselves because it's just all over the place. If we can plan with those quarantines, we want those to be followed and we want kids to come back as soon as they can. So the 4 days in that case, or let's say 6 days, let's say if you have to go into the next week, that will be fine. And we'll ask people ahead of time for that information, just like we did for February break.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So next we have Erin Kind speaking with respect to guidance.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a bit of a tough act to follow there. So the one thing that Anne didn't mention that I had written down is Friday marks the midpoint of quarter 3. So I will email everybody as a reminder, but come 4 p.m. on Friday, the Infinite Campus gradebook should be as up to date as it's been thus far this quarter. So please log on and just to check your child's progress in their classes. I was going to tell you a little bit about the freshman transition program in the meeting next week. I will skip over that because Anne covered that quite eloquently, but we are excited and we do appreciate the foundation support in bringing in the speaker. The sophomores, we've pretty much in the counseling department finishing up meetings with the sophomore families regarding course selection for next year. So if you don't know when your meeting is or haven't heard from your child's counselor, please reach out to them. We last week met with the 9th graders and that recording was sent out, and we're going to be starting to meet with the 9th graders about course selection for next year. As we speak, we're doing that now and we'll continue up until spring break. We are also starting this sophomore workshop series. So we've had technically one lesson, but covering 2 days. Where our first session, we were talking about personality types and how they fit with different potentially careers or jobs, really just encouraging students to sort of dig in and explore who they are and how their interests align with, again, things to do post high school, but also something to consider as they go to select classes for next year. And to that end, we actually gave them a homework assignment, which was to complete a career roadmap. So we've asked them to speak to a parent about their path getting towards their career, kind of where you started, what you thought you wanted to be when you would grow up, and some sort of important sort of signposts, I guess, along the way leading to where you are now in life. And ideally, hopefully these exercises are going to show students that it's not always, success is not a straight line. Sometimes there's some zigs and some zags. And we're going back into their history class on Friday and then again on Monday to cover the kind of follow-up to that lesson. And then the next 2 sessions will be run by Dr. Tom Viviano, who's the high school psychologist. And I believe he is bringing at least one, if not multiple, counseling school psychology interns with him to the sophomore classes to talk about more essentially DBT skills and some strategies for managing stress and just life as a whole. On the junior front, was talking a lot about the workshops for the juniors. We're going to resume those after spring break. Another thing that we are doing after spring break for the juniors is this wellness night related to college. Sorry, I have a pop-up that just came up. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. The junior class officers approached the counseling department about sponsoring a college wellness night. So we are going to have some alumni speak, at least one, if not multiple college reps speak. The counselors will speak, Dr. Tom Viviano will speak, and we're going to do like a sort of breakout session covering these different topics of just how to manage, again, your own sort of stress and appetite level as it relates to applying to college. And that should be great, actually. April 7th, 7 p.m. The juniors are going to be sending out some material to sign up and RSVP sometime this week. And then finally for the seniors, the time is very near. By the end of this month, their inboxes will be flooded with what I hope to say is a lot of good news. If not a lot, at least more good news than bad news. But results are coming out around the corner. And so we are anxious to hear those, as I'm sure many of you are. And we are, cheering for them, good or bad. We are on their side and hoping for the best. And also mentioned that our department, as well as starting to help some of the parents plan senior week. So we're hoping to infuse some new events or activities coming out of the counseling department for the senior week. That's all for me.
Thank you, Erin. I actually had a question from a parent. They sent me an email earlier today. So a ninth grader, rising sophomore, they did not double up on science this year. If you did not double up on science, are you able to take the other half of the intro classes and a science AP next year, if your schedule can accommodate it?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the answer is really dependent on the student and their performance in science and really their other classes during ninth grade, but the very short answer is yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So I guess you're essentially doubling up on science in sophomore year.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that, Ann and I, to parents, I guess, at the 8th to 9th grade transition night, and we talked to the students about that as well, the 8th graders at least. If you're not sure or not ready, or just like, why would you want to do that as a 9th grader? Waiting until 10th grade is most definitely an option. And in some cases, it's probably a wise one because you at least, get a full year of high school under your belt before you, sort of dive headfirst into the deep end.
Okay, great.
I'm just going to make a comment as a former science teacher in Bronxville, which is that is possible. That is not easy. AP Chem is a very difficult course. And if one is considering that, they should probably not choose to take other APs at the same time, because that is a very big load as a sophomore as your first time taking an AP. So I'll just throw that out there.
Helpful, good advice. Okay, let me see, there's a question in the chat. Let me check. Will students eventually be required to get so this could be probably for Ann or Roy, will students eventually be required to get the COVID vaccine? I think kids should be educated on the pros and cons of this vaccine, especially after Sloan Kettering has provided negative information about it. Just keeping in mind that I don't believe anyone under 16 is allowed to get the vaccine currently, but I guess with respect to 16 and up, will there be requirements with respect to the vaccine at the Bronxville school?
Anything like that would have to come directly from the Department of Health. That's not something a school district would take on for obvious reasons. So we would get whatever direction we would need to get from the State Department of Health through the County Department of Health. I think it'd be challenging to require it for every student until the efficacy of how it works with kids is fully vetted. I'm not so sure that's been done yet. As you mentioned, it's not available for under 16 right now anyway. So, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but I don't think we're at the point of even commenting other than whatever direction the state requires us, that's what we'll do.
Great, thank you. And okay, if any other questions come up, I will pass those along. Next, we have Joe Haven speaking about sports, the winter wrap up and the spring.
Good evening, everyone. So let's start with the winter. So we're wrapping up winter. Playoffs start tomorrow. We have not been notified of anything yet. The final games were played today. So I'm guessing by 10 o'clock tonight, we'll know our status for playoffs for boys basketball, girls basketball, and hockey. Playoffs do start tomorrow. Semifinal, our quarterfinals are tomorrow, semifinals are Thursday, and finals are Saturday. So besides that, we have not been given any information yet at all to where our teams have all qualified. They're all able to go. But the committees are meeting actually now to determine who goes where. We'll know more. I always say, well, watch Twitter because Twitter tells us everything. But we'll know hopefully by 10:30 tonight, we'll know, and we'll get the information out as soon as we can. Yesterday also started the fall 2 season. So fall 2 for us is girls swim and dive, and then the football, JV and varsity football. We have great participation. I think we're up to 40 kids swimming and diving, and between varsity and JV football, we have about 75 kids, and we have another 42 kids currently signed up for modified football. Modified football starts next Monday. So we have great participation right now. And if you happen to drive by the school today, you saw everybody outside. Lacrosse was getting some preseason workouts in. Track was getting some preseason workouts in. Some baseball students were out there playing. And we also had some kids playing soccer. So I mean, today was a great day on campus because all the sports were going on outside. Plus we had modified basketball inside and practices. So it was a great day for us. Many people have asked me a question. Spring sports start April 19th, and it will run through June 13th. It's really almost a full season for our spring student athletes. The section really tried to focus on those athletes because they missed all of last year. So just put in comparison, a normal year, our baseball team can play 20 games. We have an 18-game schedule. Lacrosse can normally play 16 games. They're playing 15 this year. So they really went out and tried to make it a full season for our spring athletes. Schedules haven't been distributed yet, but they did set limits to how many games we can play. And there will be a full sectional playoff in the spring season, where this winter and in the fall it was condensed. But this year for the spring, it'll be a full sectional playoff. And then they'll be it. There's no state championships this year for our athletes. And as Ann said, Aaron, Ann, and myself have been working, and we're trying to create a schedule already because there's so many events taking place in school. And this year, for the first time, really, athletics is going to be extended into mid-June, that we want to try and make sure that our student athletes and our traditional students have an opportunity to take part in everything. So we will work together to try to minimize as best as possible conflicts between academics and athletics. But we want to give the children opportunity to do both.
Thanks so much, Joe. There's a question with respect to spring golf. Is there going to be spring golf?
Yes, we'll have a full complement. This spring will be the most normal season we're going to have this year. So everything we've offered traditionally in the past will be offered this spring at all levels.
Oh, that's great news. I'm sure the kids will be very excited about that. And I think I personally really appreciate them thinking about it, because the spring season last year was, I know, a disappointment for many. So thank you for taking that into consideration.
Yeah. And keep in mind that there's updates by the minute. So probably at about 6:30, we were just notified that for this winter playoff season, the section just lifted a little bit, changed the restriction for spectators. So starting this indoor season, so currently, senior parents can attend playoffs, which is something different, and it can be home or away. As long as the visiting school allows it, it can be home or away students. So in Bronxville, we will allow the visitors to come, the senior parents to come and watch their children participate. Roy was 100% in favor of that, and I think our school board is also. So we want the parents to be able to see their children participate. Unfortunately, it's not the whole team, it's the seniors, but it's at least an opportunity for the senior parents to see their student athletes perform one more time in person before their high school careers end. And they're already discussing what's going to happen. But right now it's considered fall 2, the swim and the football. That has not been determined yet for spectators, nor has the traditional spring season. But I'm sure, I have a feeling that some of the restrictions will be lightened up and more people will be able to participate and watch their children participate during those 2 seasons.
I got a question earlier from a parent with respect to some of the fall 2 sports. If someone comes down with COVID, how does the quarantining work for the students then?
High risk sports, automatic high risk. If one person on a team comes out with COVID, the team is quarantined for 10 days
Okay.
automatically. That's something that was approved by the DOH back in January. They have not changed that yet, but as of right now, it still stands. And that's why you see the basketball playoffs. Some schools have not only just backed out, but they have put on quarantine, so they could not participate in the playoffs because of someone either testing positive or coming in contact with a team. If you're quarantined too. So, and some teams have lost their seasons because of that. So trying to keep the kids healthy and safe is our number one priority.
Yeah, I know the students put a premium. It's a priority for them to be able to play. So hopefully that will encourage everyone to be particularly safe going forward into the spring. So thank you so much, Joe. Why don't we run through our grades now to give updates? I know Laura Wilmott is joining, and she can update us with respect to the 9th grade. Laura, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Good evening. The 9th grader it's a great thing to hear the high school is going full-time in person. So the 9th grader are trying to do candygrams, and then they are having conversation with Andrew's kids, and they're planning to do a cleanup sometime in the spring. And then they are planning a autism walk at some point this year. So these are what's going on with the 9th graders.
Thank you. I love how enthusiastic the 9th graders are. I can't see, but is someone from 10th grade on? Okay. From what I know from the executive council meeting, there were no updates for 10th grade, so we're not really missing out. No one from 11th grade was able to join tonight, so I have their update. The mask sales raised $1,200, and they are being donated to a local soup kitchen. So thank you to everyone who participated and purchased the masks from the 11th grade mask sale. The mock ACT test is being held in 10 days. As Anne mentioned, the juniors aren't currently involved in prom, but we're fingers crossed, things might change in the future. There are some questions with respect to the promenade. I know the promenade prior to prom is usually organized by the juniors, so we're not really quite sure how that's working out either, but that's kind of up in the air. And they are looking to find some sort of social activity for the junior class. And hopefully we'll be able to do something for them as well if they aren't able to participate in prom. And then 12th grade, I see Jean's on the line. Jean, do you want to do the 12th grade update?
Sure, yeah. So as Anne mentioned, due to APs, we are moving and schedule changes, we're moving senior week. The really good news is that at least some of it will be able to happen in person. We're not sure, which events will be in person. Some will still be via Zoom, but we may do some splitting up. We're really just trying to strike the right combination of, celebratory, because we feel like these kids need like a pick-me-up, and engagement, something that, that they'll actually learn from. So we actually just kind of kicked off the planning process for that this week, much later than normal, because we were just waiting for visibility on what it could or would look like. One tough decision we had to make was on Mom Prom and Pop Hop, neither of which are school sanctioned events, but people who have older kids know that, these were events where if you had a son graduating, then the mom would take them to the Pop Hop, and vice versa for the girls and their dads. It was originally, weren't sure if it was going to be able to happen. We had reserved a venue, but unfortunately now with the change in the AP date, that is not going to happen. We did consider trying to change the date, but with so many activities trying to get consolidated into that last month, it's just not, not going to happen. And we decided it made sense to prioritize the things that the kids were really keen on, rather than the things that the parents would get more out of, sadly. But we kind of feel like they deserve that after, their last year and a half. Anything else? Mom, Prom, Pop, Hop. I think that covers it. We're trying to figure the traditional teacher appreciation lunch isn't going to be able to happen in the format that it's happened in the past. We are going to try to do some sort of event where where the seniors can celebrate their teachers, and we haven't quite figured out the form that would take. Maybe some kind of outdoor dodgeball or volleyball, but that's all sort of up in the works now. And that's kind of all I have to report, I think.
Thanks so much, Jean.
Yep.
Bronxville Foundation, they sent an update. They have received over 25 great grant applications, are in the process of reviewing them. They would like to thank the community for donating, especially this year. If you haven't already donated, please consider supporting the schools. The foundation has also collaborated with Roy and the school staff to put together a virtual tour of the school, and that, in addition to the alumni newsletter, will be launched to the community within the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for that video, as well as the alumni newsletter. Next, we have Bold. Is anyone from Bold here? Oh,
yes. Hi. Thanks, Margaret. Yes, at Bold, we just want to talk about, we're going to have monthly Bold conversations, and our first one is starting tomorrow, March 10th, and it's about managing expectations with your child, whether they have an IEP or a 504. So we would welcome you to join us. And I know that link went out. We'll probably send out another link. You don't have to register. You can just show up to our Zoom meetings. And it's just an informal gathering of parents. So we would welcome anyone to join us. So we will be doing it on the second Wednesday of the month moving forward up until June. So we look forward to that. And I know I've said it before, but we're also doing a read called ADHD 2.0. And it's Ned Hallowell and John Rady's book. They are both psychiatrists who both have ADHD themselves, and this is a great read. I picked it up at Warmrath, so we encourage you to buy it, and we will be discussing that on May 19th with Joyce Festola, so that should be fun. So if any parent has any questions, you can go onto the PTA website where you'll find the Bold contact information, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, Margaret.
thanks so much, Neve. Do we have anyone from Be Well on the call?
Hi, Margaret. It's Jen Holmeyer.
Hey, Jen.
Thank you. So we are excited to welcome back Dr. Kelly Grayling for our third Wise Mind Parenting workshop on the 25th of March. She's going to be discussing how to help your child stay calm through praise. So we hope you guys can attend. And any previous workshops, we do have links. If anyone has not gotten them, please feel free to email me and I'll be happy to send out the recording.
Okay, thanks so much, Jen. And Christine Tormey, do you want to give an update on Youth Council?
Hi. I didn't expect to speak. It's going really well. We welcome anyone who wants to get involved, you know, in a leadership position for next year. There's a Google form to fill out on the classroom. And I think in your announcement for this meeting, you put the classroom code. It's David Russell's Google Classroom. So there's that, but please emphasize to your kids, you can come to one event, you could run for president, whatever you want to do. We welcome everybody because it's been, we've really, I think the kids have done an amazing job being creative this year, doing a lot of distance things, from bundling clothing donations for Bundles of Joy to be donated to shelters to the monthly West Tab playgroups on Zoom. We're playing St. Patrick's Day bingo next Friday. So that's all those signups are in the Google Classroom. Tell your kids. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So let me see, just some random notes. So hopefully people have been able to participate in the spring into the arts this over the past week. It started on the 4th. It's wrapping up tomorrow. So hopefully you were able to participate in some of those events and enjoy them. Just wanted to give people a heads up that the PTA in general is looking to do some teacher appreciation meals for like all the teachers and the faculty in the school, both in the elementary school, middle school, and high school. So we're trying to coordinate that going forward. So monthly, they'll get an appreciation lunch because we understand that that's something that they've been enjoying. And it's something we can do since, we can't be there individually, but it would be like a quick pickup, like grab and go bag lunch to show our appreciation for the teachers. And then just a couple quick reminders. The next meeting will be in April on the 13th, 7 p.m. again. It's going to be a joint middle school and high school Zoom. So might be a little less high school specific, but there will be good information. Reminder that tomorrow is a half day. Spring break is coming up. And again, if anyone has any questions for me, feel free to reach out. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great spring break if I don't see you before then. And take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret.